welcome to episode 6 of Colonizing Duna. Here's a beautiful view of our rovers with the KSP center right behind it. So our first rover here has already been sent. It's landed on the surface, not so close to the equator, but within an hour drive or something. So now it's time to send our second one and dock it with our first one. I'll reuse the launcher that I used for the first one, just because it worked, and just a matter of sticking it under it. Everything is already good to go that way. We'll make it for a 20-minute long design video. Where are you doing a rover 2? And I counted earlier, it's got more parachutes than the manned one, and the weight is about the same. So I don't think I'll add engines at all. I'll just try and land it on parachutes and all. I know it's more risky now because I can't even rep the struts if what happened in the previous one happens now, but who cares? Because it won't happen. That's how awesome it's going to be. Except now that is going to happen. Come on, load up. Load up. Why aren't you reloading it? Control Z, come on. I know it's a big rocket, but do it. There we go. So here we are, ready to launch. We don't need anyone because it's unmanned. We've got, we're gonna need the struts. Because nothing is strutted for some reason. Each time I reload it, what the hell? So it is going to take a while. Right. The weirdest part is the struts are actually there. Why aren't they? Oh, and the fuel lines are not. Oh, shit. Shit. What the fuck? Hang on, let me retry this. Something must have... What? Delete it. Something happened when I reloaded it. Everything, all the struts, all the fuel lines just disappeared because they were there. Go figure. Alright, sub-assembly. That was a major lag. Duna pusher. The fuel lines are not connected. What the? No, they are. Why weren't they before? Let's just check. The fuel lines are good. They're good. To prevent the wobble, we had all had struts here because that's what fucked up the gravity turn. And here. White. Alright. Staging should be right. This and that. Alright. Save. That's it for Duna. So here we are in orbit mode, trying to get a decent encounter with Duna before we even leave the ground. Because actually this is what is going to cost me a lot of Delta V once in space. I thought I launched at the right time. It was way too early. You'll see later on. It was pretty bad. And weirdly enough, the first rover made it to Duna fairly efficiently. But this one, just by launching like probably 15, 16 days too early, it cost me almost all the fuel of the pusher itself. You see last episode, I had plenty of fuel left. Could have probably come back and back to Duna again, so 3 times the trips it was supposed to make. This time it was, yeah, I made it there, and I might have made it back to Kerbal, but that's about it. The problem is once I make it into orbit, I somehow, well, somehow, it's not really somehow, got too lazy. Didn't want to wait at 4 time acceleration because my orbit was too low. It was like 90k to 100k, and couldn't time warp fast enough. So I'm like, yeah, screw it. I'll just head for Duna. End up having to kill almost 3,000 meters per second upon arriving near Duna, which is a lot of speed to kill with nuclear engines. I mean, it just took a long ass time. So we were launching the rocket. It's as is usual now. The launches are at 2 times speed, and all the interplanetary travel is at 4 times speed. This is just fucking crazy because I jettisoned it too early. My staging was still done for the previous rocket. Apparently, it wasn't working for this one because my solid booster ran out of fuel before the next fuel stage. So it couldn't, when I pressed the space bar, the liquid fuel booster just flew straight up. Hopefully, it was just at the time of the gravity turn, so I managed to not hit them on their way back down. It was pretty bad. And now here, the spin of doom. I do not know what's up with this rocket. I thought it was the struts originally, so the lack of struts, so I put more to prevent wobble. Maybe it's the fact that there are those 6 mid-size tanks as a mid-stage for this rocket. So it goes from 4 symmetry on the heavy launcher to 6 symmetry on the next stage. You might like somehow with the air make it rotate, because once I get in higher orbit it just stops. Something tells me it's gotta be the air. Weird friction or something. But even with all this wobbling, but now we're at 55,000, so it can't be the air because I'm still wobbling. It takes a while to stabilize though, still, because it was a lot of it is a heavy craft. So I still managed to salvage it and make it into orbit using again another fuel, but it had to be done. This mission is just salvage from salvage to salvage and more salvaging, because it just nothing went like it was supposed to be. But in the end, it still worked. So I should have labeled this video "How Not to Get to Duna." But meh. I'm really having, it's this 3rd time now I'm making it to Duna. I'm having really big issues landing there repeatedly on the same spot. With it's like each time I landed there, it was 3 different things. Like one, I got really far away, almost no speed. The other one was really close, but with a shitload of speed. And all of that 90 degrees from everything else I landed. Like I never landed on the same orbit that I landed first with the station, which is quite annoying because eventually I'm gonna have to head back to that station because I'm supposed to park the taxi and the lander there before making it to the ground. So I have to find a way around that too. We'll see once we get there. It should start switching to 4 times speed because it's gonna be a long flight, especially with all the screwing up that I did. Like right now, I should have waited around Kerbal and maybe do like 20 or 30 more orbits around the planet. But I like, screw it, I can make it, and it's gonna be bad. If you see the encounter right here, there you go. It's really far out, and I still thought that I could make it, and I decided to do the burn, and it was like, yeah, we'll see, because I thought it was like 10 minutes or so. I know it took me 10 minutes to slow my approach around Duna to get captured in full orbit around Duna. At least the orbit that I wanted. It's pretty crazy. But fuel-wise, this thing, if I can definitely make it to Eve. I can definitely make it back to Duna, and I'm probably sure I can make it even further than that if I just pay really more attention before just launching into space and then trying to get a decent orbit. Because like right now, this is just costing me a lot of delta V. And this is 4 times speed too, so it's barely moving. I had to fly that at 1 time speed, and I'm still alive. It must be made of granite or something. I'm pretty much trying to pivot the orbit, but problem is also I can't run this engine as 100% as always, or it'll just explode as the fuel just gets consumed. I can slowly throttle it up. It's a little frustrating, but I mean, there was so much. I think it was like 6 million kilometers to start with, though. Just a lot of distance to cover. I'm about to hit it, but it's annoying. And in the previous episode, I was thinking about resizing the mid section of the rocket, the one that's actually right now pushing it towards Duna. But thank God I did not do it, because I would not have enough fuel. I would I would not have had enough fuel to actually make it. Well, I would have made it to Duna, but not enough to get a full orbit around it. So it just kept going beyond the escape point and be in an orbit around the sun again, completely out of fuel and with a useless unmanned rover floating in space. And so it was a fairly good thing, but that's something that sometimes forgetting something can save you. So can we get this encounter? Come on, encounter. This is actually the worst encounter I've ever had, where it's the Mun, Duna, Minmus, even the asteroids I went to. This is just the worst, because I always try and get the Apple apps to connect with to get the closest point to the target, so at least you don't have to kill so much speed. Like all the delta V I'm putting into this orbit right now, I'm gonna have to kill upon approaching Duna to get capture around it. So it's really, really just waste of fuel. What I'm wasting now, I'm gonna have to waste again on arriving. So there's the orbit and the approach. Going for it. I was pretty happy to use. Oh yeah, it was pretty close, not too far, because last time it was like 32 or something. And yeah, it didn't help. So here we are. Oh, time warp almost killed me again. This is the long warp of doom. This is even more boring than flying a freighter in Eve. That video, look, oh, just flying. Oh, this is just crazy. This is just too boring. Especially with those nuclear engines. It took forever. Well, anyway, at some point on Duna, I would like to get a fixed base on the ground with, of course, more fuel, so I can always park the rovers that will be on the ground to that main base, refuel those rovers, and then send them around the planet to wherever they need to be. Like, if I have a lander stranded 100 kilometers away from the base, well, I can always send the rovers. It is painful to drive on planets, but if it has to be done, it has to be done. At one point, I will have to drive these rovers manually from their location, because I know where this one is gonna land, because this is post-production. I'm doing the commentary, so I can multiply the speed of these vids. But it just I'll never land. Like, the best I can probably do is 50k from each rovers, because they have no propulsion behind them. So I'm trying to get some sort of air brake, more or less, above where the rover is gonna be, and it just You'll see what happens with this one. I mean, I tried to, even to the last minute, to maneuver them into well, changing my orbit as much as I could, even as I'm really like 12K from the ground, and it really almost blew up my engines too, because they wanted to overheat way more. They were already barely handling it. Just managed to shut them down in time, but it, it it's hard with just parachutes to land two crafts at the exact same spot, and I need to land three, and then the lander is a four. It's, what do I say? I need to land three. Like, one is already landed. This one is the second one, so two more after this one, and hopefully then we can start working on the base that's got to be on the ground. But we still have time for that. Our lander is not even there. Our third rover is not there. Our taxi's not parked at the station. So at some point also, it'd be cool to maybe have a space plane or some sort to be able to bring a Kerbal or two from the space station to our base on the ground. The problem with that is that I don't have a space plane, and I will have to bring it as well to Duna. Bringing it shouldn't be too hard. I might just have to bring two instead of just one, just because of the symmetry issue, so at least it's somehow balanced. So probably just gonna fix them on the side of a giant rocket. I have to see, because I haven't really thought about that yet, and I've never actually even tried to fly a plane in Duna. I don't know if is there enough air. Or I guess if you put enough thrust, anything will fly horizontally, but because the atmosphere is fairly thin, like, I mean, below 30K there isn't much atmosphere at all. So do jet engines work there? I don't know. I guess I'll have to check it out. That's actually a good question. Next rover, I'll bring some sort of a little test device on top or on the side. Like, you just a jet engine and the smallest tank I can find, just a little probe on top, just to kick it on, see if it works. I can't forget the air intake as well. Can probably make that fairly light, just as a little tryout device. I could probably just check the wiki here. There's an atmosphere, but I mean, is it what a jet engine needs to be able to, I don't know, generate thrust? I don't know. So here we are, Duna, the most beautiful planet as always. I'm trying to slow down so we can get a good stable orbit around the planet, and you can see our rover is not really too far out. A couple rotations and it'll hopefully pass right below the orbit that our second rover is captured in. And when I said a couple orbits, it'll be a lot of orbits, because this is, again, times 4 speed. And you can see our station. Come on, rover, you can do it. I don't remember how many orbits I did. Probably like 5, 6, 7, 10. Under 10? This is really painful. And just looking at it, I'm concentrating, because I'll have to send the third one, and I'm hoping I get an orbit like this one, where I just have to wait and eventually the rover will pass below it. Just if it was a little more equatorial, I might just have to maneuver again. And originally, also, I said that I should have added a docking port to the pusher that brought this rover and park it at the station to refuel it. To refuel the station because it needed all the fuel that we used to put it in orbit around Duna. But the problem with that is I first forgot the docking port, but also really used the fuel as much as I could to. As you'll see, I'll pass over the our target rover and I'll burn to try and just stay. There it goes, right below us. I'm gonna try and burn and just salvage what can be salvaged, and it's I'm speechless because it's. What can I say? It still works. It's just not the way I planned it. Originally, I thought our orbit was really closer to the ground, but it was a 70 to 120 orbit, so I was still too high. I thought I would already be catching a little air brake right now, and I had to generate myself with the engine, but then I started falling to the ground too straight. So it just burn away, and your engine almost burned out. I can't redeploy the parachutes above 10,000 meters because they just don't do anything. They just don't deploy. There's not enough air pressure for them to deploy. So I'm trying to stay above it as much as possible while still losing my altitude. But the problem is that nuclear engines won't really do much. Also, as I said earlier, the closer I get to the ground, the more I'm entering the atmosphere, the more my engines want to overheat. So I have to throttle down. Like right now, my middle engine's about to overheat. The bar is just filling up really badly, and I have to throttle down. Here you go, and lose even more speed. So I'm trying. I ended up landing like I think 50 kilometers, like 49 or 51. I can't exactly remember. It wasn't too bad. Could have been worse. I mean, I could not even have the target on my screen if it was over 100k. So at least I know where to drive without having to figure out how I align this probe on this rover. Because if it's probably not aligned to the axis that it's going to use on the nav ball, so I'm probably not heading for the right thing when somehow the ground is a rover. At least now I just have to set that as a target and I can follow it. Maybe like, within the 50k thing. So here I am, 14k. I'm still burning away, trying to do what I can to stay as close as possible to it. And here comes another fail. If I remember, I end up decoupling before shutting down the engines, which is epic. But it's pretty funny though, because after all it still worked. So we have it. The pusher itself is so heavy that once the parachutes open up, it still falls to the ground. It's too heavy to lift itself. There we go. And the solar panels just got ripped off because I was looking for debris and all I could see were the two solar panels just floating in space. They were not even on the ground. They were just floating in space. It was really funny. Hang on, where are they? 'Cause I'm looking. Can't see anything. And that thing right there, there's a solar panel. Just slowly falling to the ground. So here I was a little scared because my speed thing is still in orbit and not to surface, and like, oh, I'm gonna crash on the ground, I'm gonna die again. And this one's unmanned, and yeah, won't have that issue. And also the problem I had when I made those rovers, I locked the suspension because I thought it would help to keep the solar panels again. To lift the rover off the ground when I deployed the struts, because sometimes they just tend to not get absorbed, but get what. Like if it was trying to lift itself, but the ground was mud, and it was just sticking themselves into the ground instead of lifting the craft off of it. And it didn't change anything, but I forgot about that. And when I checked here on landing, there was still suspension was still locked, and with the speed that I was gonna land on, I had the time to quickly unlock them, which upon landing made a big difference. 'Cause that's what they're there for, to absorb the shock. It's a pretty beautiful shot in the background with Hike. Still have to make it there as well. There's our craft slowly falling to the ground. I deployed the parachutes at like 2,500 meters from the ground. I mean deployed. I set them to open themselves fully at that altitude, so they have time to slow ourselves and the rover as we are approaching the ground. And the only thing with that, it makes for a really slow landing. Oh, time acceleration helps that. But yeah. So here's the suspension unlocked, so you can absorb the shock. 3, 2, 1. We are on the ground. Yay! There it is. Because without suspension, would have definitely broke some struts again, and without the capability to rep them, it would have been really annoying. I would have had to drive the other rover all the way out here, and it's not the coolest thing. Switch to docking mode. Thank you, Fred. I always keep forgetting, but you realize real quick that your rover needs to be driven in docking mode if you want it to drive straight. Staging mode, it will just never drive in a straight line. So here's our second rover on Duna, under 50k from our first one. I guess next video I'll try and dock them together. We'll have a little drive around Duna. Thanks for watching, and catch you later.